And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and I really like superhero themes, comics. I'm a big fan of the superhero genre. Now, in the board game world or video game world or anywhere else, when you have the superhero genre, usually it's going to be based on one of the two biggest IPs, whether it's Marvel or DC, sometimes the smaller ones like Image. But for the most part, it's based on those. I am always interested when I see something new, Sentinels of the Multiverse. Well, Kapow here is a comic book inspired buildable dice game. It is for 2 or more players. There's some things in here where you can play like team versus team, but it's essentially basically a 2-player game where you're going to be taking a hero versus a villain and fighting it out by rolling dice, getting more dice, and using those dice to attack your opponent. Here's how it plays. Kapow! Each player is going to get one of these big boards. There's one for heroes and one's for villains, but they're pretty much the same. And if you played a quote-unquote advanced game, then you're going to add your villain or superhero. There's 3 of each to the game. So let's say I play with Tough Nut here. So this is going to give me some special abilities. It also shows me my health. So I put my maximum health and my starting health there. Your starting health, you'll keep track of your health over the course of the game. You're trying to knock out the other person, but you can never go higher than your maximum health. It also shows you the starting dice. So in this case, Tough Nut gets 3 trait dice, a blue, a yellow, and a green, and 2 of these attribute dice, which are going to be blank on all sides, except 2 a side on each is a wild. So these are the dice that he's going to start with. So each round of the game, you're going to roll your dice, and then you're going to assign these dice and do various things with them depending on where you place them. Now some things could be immediate. So this says any die. I could put this blank die here. It says re-roll any other die. And maybe I re-roll this one. Then let's say maybe I'm going to put this here. This says, when you do an immediate action, by the way, you tell your opponent what you're going to do. But then maybe I'm going to put this one here and this one here. And I'll put this one here and I don't know. I'll put these here like this. All right, so once everyone's done placing their dice, again, if you do something immediate, it happens right away. You then do whatever it says. You're going to reveal them, and I'll do my attack. Now, to do an attack, you need to pick a base attack. I did this one, which gives me 2 base attack. You can add as many kickers as you want. Here, I added a +2, so I'm doing an attack of 4. If you have a attack multiplier, you can do one of these. This one adds 2 attack kicker and 2 multiplier, and this one's 4 attack kicker and 2 multiplier, so you can be even bigger. Kickers are added first, then you multiply them. You'll take that total amount, and then your opponent will subtract. Very similar. There's a base defense. They can add kickers, and then there can be multipliers to it. And each person will deal damage to the other person. The blue column here, there's some immediate, roll dice, get health. But there's also, you can get new trait dice. There are different colors of trait dice. You'll see that I have yellow, green, and blue. But there is also red and purple. All these dice have different sides on them. It actually shows you in the shield what's on the different sides of the dices. They all have a wild and they have blanks, but they also mostly have the symbol that matches them, which are going to be used here. You can also get faces for your dice here. These faces here, you're just going to pop off the side and make these dice better as they go by so that when you roll them, they actually do something. And that's what the blue does for the most part. You're getting more traits, maybe more action dice and things like that. And then each person has their own specific things that they can do. This guy's a permanent thing. He always has 1 base defense, so that's good. And here, he can go here with any die to gain a might and a toughness, put it on his action die, and roll it. So you can get a new side to that and re-roll it right away. If an attack reduces your health by 3 or more, get a trait dice. But only if you put something here. Any 2 dice here, your shield, your defense kickers count as defense kickers and attack kickers. So everyone has kind of a different thing that's going on with them. You can also just play without the special abilities and just have your starting dice on the other side. But that's pretty much it. You're just going to go back and forth. Whoever has lower damage will get the first player token, which shows they'll go first each round. And whoever knocks the other person down to 0 is the winner. So the components for this game are all about the comic book, which is good and bad. So the rule book's fine, but I'm telling you, comic book font and the way the things, kabam and zooey, sometimes it's a pain to try to find a rule. It's not that complicated, actually. The game is very simple. But comic book, while it's fun to read as a comic book, doesn't always make the best way to look at a game board. So you can see here, all these symbols and things, they're fairly easy, but it's still kind of this wall of text that's shooting at you. Now, these are very good quality boards. I won't argue that. The shields are good. You don't really only need the shield to just hide what dice you're doing, but they also give you a bunch of things that you can do, quick reference and stuff, and what the symbols stand for. It's pretty basic stuff. The game isn't hard. I'm not a big fan of this track. These, the targets or maximum health arrows, who cares? I don't think they're that useful. The dice themselves are decent quality. I don't know how long the trait dice will last, but these dice here, the attribute dice, the game comes with little black arrows to pop off the sides. And it's not that hard to get these sides off. They come right off, and then you kind of just press them in like that. Again, though, the whole thing feels a little amateurish in its production. But it works, but you can just see there's bright colors everywhere. That's going to bug some people. But for the most part, I think the production is decent. So the whole thing has this whole comic book feel. Kapow, bang, pop. And that's the way the game definitely feels. Roll some dice, make an attack, the other person does the defense, and building up your dice pool. And I really like it for the most part. There's some things that I'm not so keen on, but for the most part, I like how the game essentially takes this whole bam, bam, bam 1960s Batman style thing, and it works really well. It's also fun to build your dice pool, and you have to sit there and go, should I build my dice pool, or should I maybe hit the other person and or defend against them? And you have a lot of options. Even though both boards are exactly the same, there's a lot of options, and then picking who you are as a hero or villain is going to give you some more options. As a quick aside, I feel like they missed the boat a little bit on the hero versus villain, because I don't really feel the difference. You could have two heroes fight each other. You could have two villains fight each other. It doesn't feel like the villains are very villainy and the heroes are very heroic. Not to mention the art for the different characters. Like this main character here looks like a cross between Robin, the female Robin, and Vision. And the one bad guy looks like the Riddler. And the other guy looks like Wolverine, except his claws shoot. Well, like a hulked out Wolverine. And that's fine. I mean, I don't really care that they're that original. But I don't really feel like there's backstories to these guys either. I don't really feel anything massive there. Like I said, the components are okay. And I think the game errs on maybe making attacks stronger than defense easily, so that it might just behoove you to just build up your attack and then just throw a big attack at your opponent and hope to knock them out. That being said, if the defense was too strong, the game would go on forever and ever 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 and ever, because you'd just be blocking each other's attacks. I don't mind, though. This is not a game to be taken seriously. This is a light game. It's a back and forth, silly, bam, bam, bam type game, back and forth. And like I said, it does have 4 players. There's like a board where you can both share dice on that board. But it just works so well as a 2-player game. So I like it a lot. I know that there's like a couple other heroes and things that you can buy for the game. And while it definitely shows signs of it being a first-time production, it's something that says, hey, I want to look more at what this company does in the future. And it really does put a smile on my face, because the theme really does come through pretty well. Kapow! Dice Tower Judgment, kapow! I mean, approved.